Marine Corporal Lee Daho stepped off the transport shuttle and looked around the research station called Harmony's Edge. The name was a joke. Nothing about this place felt harmonious. Cold metal walls stretched in every direction, and the air smelled like chemicals and fear. He adjusted his rifle on his shoulder and followed the other Marines toward the main building. This was supposed to be a simple security job. Guard duty at a science station on the edge of nowhere. Keep the researchers safe while they studied alien animals. Easy money and boring work. The station commander Kim Tae-jin met them at the entrance. He was a thin man with tired eyes who looked like he had not slept well in months. "Welcome to Harmony's Edge," Kim said. His voice was flat and empty. "You are here to keep order and follow the rules. The researchers do important work here. Do not interfere with their studies." Daho nodded with the others, but something felt wrong. Kim looked nervous. His hand shook when he talked about the research. What kind of animal studies made a military commander this scared? They toured the facility in the afternoon. Most of it looked normal for a research base. Labs with computers and machines, living quarters for the staff, a small cafeteria that smelled like instant food. But then they reached the containment levels. The first few cells held creatures Daho recognized from basic alien biology training. Small lizard things from the desert worlds. Floating jellyfish creatures that glowed softly in their tanks. Bird-like animals with too many wings. But at the end of the corridor was something different. The cell was much larger than the others. It had thick walls made of some kind of clear metal that looked strong enough to stop a tank. Warning signs covered every surface in multiple languages, including Korean. Inside was a dragon. Daho had seen pictures of dragons in old Earth stories, but this was real. The creature was as long as 3 men lying head to foot. Its body was covered in scales that looked like they were made from crystal. They caught the light and threw it back in rainbow colors. 4 legs ended in claws that could tear through steel. Wings folded against its back looked powerful enough to carry it through space itself. But the most striking thing was its eyes. They were large and golden and filled with something Daho had never seen in an animal before. Intelligence, pain, and something that looked like hope dying slowly. "What is that thing?" asked Private Joe Minsu, who was standing next to Daho. "Velthari dragon," said Dr. Park So-young as she joined them. She was the head researcher and looked as tired as Commander Kim. "Subject 47. We are studying its behavior patterns." "Why does it look so thin?" Daho asked. The dragon's ribs showed through its crystal scales. Its golden eyes were sunken deep in its skull. Dr. Park looked uncomfortable. "It is being disciplined according to galactic law. The creature attempted to breed out of season. This disrupts the ecosystem balance on 17 different worlds where these dragons serve as biological regulators." "Biological regulators," Joe Minsu repeated. "They eat certain plants and animals to keep populations stable. But they must only breed at specific times when the star patterns are right. This one tried to mate during the forbidden season. The punishment is isolation and reduced feeding until it learns proper behavior." Daho stared at the dragon. It was lying on its side, breathing slowly. Each breath looked like it took great effort. "How long has it been like this?" 6 months. The Kethmar overseers say the discipline must continue until the creature shows proper submission. The Kethmar were the bug-like aliens who controlled most of this part of the galaxy. They were about the size of humans, but looked like giant insects with too many arms. They claimed to be the most advanced civilization in known space, and most other species followed their rules. "What if it dies?" Daho asked. Dr. Park shrugged, but her eyes showed she did not like the situation either. "There are other dragons. The Kethmar say one creature is not important compared to galactic stability." That night, Daho could not sleep. His quarters were on the same level as the containment cells, and he could hear something that made his skin crawl. A low sound that rose and fell like singing. But it was not happy singing. It was the sound of something in terrible pain trying to call for help. He got up and walked to the observation window of the dragon's cell. The creature was awake and looking right at him. When their eyes met, the dragon made the sound again. It was coming from deep in its throat, but somehow sounded musical. Deho had grown up on a farm before joining the Marines. He knew what animals sounded like when they were in pain or scared or lonely. But this was different. This sounded almost like language. The dragon tried to stand up, but its legs shook and it fell back down. It made the singing sound again and looked at Deho with those golden eyes. There was something in that look that made Deho's heart hurt. Over the next few days, he found himself returning to the observation window whenever he had free time. The dragon always seemed to know he was coming. It would lift its great head and look at him and make those musical sounds. Other Marines complained about the noise keeping them awake, but Deho started to hear patterns in it. The sounds changed depending on what time of day it was. They were different when Dr. Park came to check on the creature. They changed again when the Kethmar inspectors visited. On his fourth night at the station, Deho brought a recording device to the observation window. The dragon saw it and tilted its head like it was curious. Then it began to sing again, but this time the sounds were more complex. They rose and fell in ways that reminded Deho of human speech. He played the recording back and the dragon listened carefully. When the recording ended, the creature repeated the same pattern of sounds but changed some parts. It was like it was trying to have a conversation. Deho felt a chill run down his spine. This was not just an animal making noise. This was a thinking being trying to communicate, and the galaxy was torturing it for reasons it might not even understand. He looked into those golden eyes and made a decision that would change everything. He was going to find out what the dragon was trying to say. The next morning, Deho found Dr. Park So-Young in her lab studying data on multiple screens. She looked up when he entered and raised an eyebrow at the recording device in his hands. "Dr. Park, I need to show you something," Deho said. He placed the device on her desk and pressed play. The dragon's musical sounds filled the small lab. Dr. Park listened with a puzzled expression that slowly changed to interest. The sounds had clear patterns. Some parts repeated while others changed, in what seemed like meaningful ways. "Where did you record this?" she asked. "Outside Subject 47 cell last night, but that is not all." Deho played a second recording. "This is from tonight." I played back the first recording and the dragon responded. Listen to how it changes some sounds but keeps others the same. Dr. Park leaned forward and replayed both recordings. Her eyes widened as she compared the sound patterns. "This looks like attempted communication. The creature is trying to respond to your recording." "That is what I thought. Can you help me figure out what it is trying to say?" Dr. Park was quiet for a long moment. "What you are suggesting goes against everything we know about Velthari dragons. They are classified as non-sentient biological tools. The Kethmar have studied them for thousands of years. Maybe the Kethmar are wrong." "That is a dangerous thing to say, Corporal. The Kethmar control this entire sector of the galaxy. Questioning their scientific conclusions could cause serious problems for everyone on this station." Deho looked out the lab window toward the containment level. "What if we are torturing a thinking being because we never bothered to listen to what it was saying?" Dr. Park sighed and rubbed her tired eyes. "Even if you are right, there is nothing we can do. Galactic law is clear about the punishment for breeding violations. The creature must remain in isolation until it shows proper submission. How do we know it was really trying to breed? What if it was doing something else entirely?" The behavior was observed by 3 different Kethmar scientists. They identified clear mating displays according to their biological databases. Did anyone try to communicate with it before deciding what the behavior meant? Dr. Park shook her head. "Communication implies intelligence. If Velthari were intelligent, they would not be used as biological regulators. The entire galactic ecosystem management system depends on them being non-thinking animals." That afternoon, the Kethmar overseer Thiklas arrived for his weekly inspection. Deho watched from the observation deck as the insect-like alien examined the dragon's cell. Thiklas was larger than most Kethmar, with darker coloring on his shell-like skin. His forearms moved independently as he made notes on a handheld device. The dragon saw Thiklas and made different sounds than it made for humans. These were sharper and more urgent. They sounded like warnings or protests. Thiklas ignored the sounds completely. To him, they were just meaningless animal noises. He finished his inspection and joined Commander Kim and Dr. Park in the briefing room. Daeho positioned himself where he could listen without being noticed. "The creature shows no signs of proper submission," Thikolas said in his clicking mechanical voice. "Punishment protocols must continue for at least 6 more months." 6 more months, Dr. Park said. "The creature is already severely weakened. It may not survive that long. Then it will serve as an example to other Velthari across the galaxy. Breeding discipline must be maintained at all costs. The seasonal cycles control 17 worlds' worth of biological systems. One creature's defiance threatens millions of lives." Commander Kim nodded reluctantly. "We will follow galactic protocols, Overseer." "See that you do. I have reports that some humans on this station have been showing excessive interest in the creature. This emotional attachment is a weakness that could interfere with proper discipline." Daeho felt his blood run cold. They knew he had been visiting the dragon. "I will make sure my people maintain proper distance," Commander Kim said. After Thikolas left, Daeho found Dr. Park back in her lab. She was staring at the sound recordings with a troubled expression. "They know you have been talking to it," she said without looking up. "I heard? Does that change anything?" "It should make us both more careful, but—" She turned to face him. "I have been thinking about what you said. What if we are wrong about what the dragon was doing when it was caught?" "What do you mean?" Kethmar reported mating behavior, but their description talks about the dragon making loud calls and showing agitation near other Velthari. What if it was not trying to mate? What if it was trying to communicate with its own kind?" Daeho felt his heart beat faster. "You think it was just talking to other dragons?" "More than talking. I have been studying the sound patterns you recorded. They are far more complex than simple animal communication. There are grammatical structures, repeated elements that might be names or concepts. This could be a fully developed language. So when it tried to talk to other dragons out of season, the Kethmar thought it was trying to breed." "Exactly. And if I am right about the complexity of this language system, then Velthari dragons are not just intelligent. They might be more intelligent than we ever imagined." That night, Daeho returned to the dragon's cell with a new recording device and a notebook. The creature saw him coming and lifted its great head. Its golden eyes seemed brighter than before. "Hello, Daeho," said quietly. He felt foolish talking to what everyone said was just an animal. But something in those eyes made him continue. "My name is Daeho. Can you understand me?" The dragon tilted its head and made a soft, musical sound. Then it repeated the sound, but changed the pitch slightly. It was trying to copy his name. "Daeho," he said again slowly. The dragon tried again and got closer to the right sounds. Then it made a longer series of musical tones and looked at him expectantly. Dr. Park's voice came from behind him. "I think it just told you its name." Daeho turned to see her standing in the corridor with her own recording equipment. "You decided to help. If we are right about this, then we are watching the slow murder of a thinking being. I cannot stand by and let that happen, even if it costs me my career." They worked through the night recording the dragon's attempts to communicate. By morning, they had filled 3 notebooks with sound patterns and possible translations. The dragon seemed to understand they were trying to help. It repeated sounds patiently when they did not understand and tried new ways to express concepts. As the sun came up through the station's windows, the dragon made one final complex series of sounds. Dr. Park played it back and compared it to her notes. "I think," she said slowly, "it just asked us why it is being hurt." Dr. Park brought communication specialist Choi Minna into their secret project 3 days later. Minna was a small woman with quick eyes who specialized in alien language systems. She looked at their recordings and notes with growing excitement. "This is incredible," Minna said as she studied the sound patterns. "The grammatical complexity suggests a civilization-level intelligence. These are not animal sounds. This is sophisticated language." The 3 of them worked in Dr. Park's lab every night after the regular staff went to sleep. They developed a basic translation system using computer analysis and careful observation of the dragon's behavior. Slowly, they began to understand what it was trying to tell them. The dragon's name was Silthara. It came from a place it called the Singing Cliffs, where its family lived in great crystal caves. Silthara was young by dragon standards and had been separated from its family during what the Kethmar called a population management operation. Population management, Deho repeated angrily. They stole it from its family. It gets worse, Minna said. She had been working on translating the dragon's more complex statements. According to Silthara, the behavior the Kethmar called illegal breeding was actually distress calls. It was trying to find its way home. Dr. Park looked sick. We have been torturing a lost child for calling out for its parents. Through careful questioning, they learned more about Velthari society. The dragons lived in family groups called songs. Each song had its own territory and its own musical language. Young dragons learned by listening to the songs of their elders. Silthara had been taken during its first journey away from the family caves. It was supposed to be a coming-of-age ritual where young dragons learned to navigate by the stars. Instead, Kethmar ships had captured it and brought it to this research station. The Kethmar said it was breeding out of season, Deho said. But according to what Silthara told us, dragons do not even reach breeding age until they are much older, which means the Kethmar fundamental understanding of Velthari biology is completely wrong, Dr. Park said. They have been classifying an entire intelligent species as animals because they never bothered to learn how to communicate with them. Commander Kim found them in the lab the next morning. His face was grim and tired. The three of you have been spending a lot of time together lately. Care to explain what you are working on? Dr. Park and Minna looked at Deho. He had suggested bringing the commander into their project, but they had been afraid of his reaction. Now they had no choice. Sir, we have discovered that Subject 47 is not an animal. It is an intelligent being, and we have been communicating with it. Commander Kim sat down heavily. Show me. They played their recordings and explained their translation system. Kim listened without interruption as they told him about Silthara's family and the true meaning of its distress calls. So you are telling me, Kim said slowly, that the galactic government has been enslaving an intelligent species and we are helping them torture a child. That appears to be the situation, sir, Dr. Park said. Kim was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. What do you want me to do about it? I am just a station commander. I cannot change galactic law. We want to contact Silthara's family, Deho said. If we can prove the dragons are intelligent, then maybe we can get the punishment stopped. And if the Kethmar decide we are interfering with their authority, they will remove us all from command and continue the torture anyway. Probably with worse conditions. So we do nothing? Minna asked. I did not say that. But we need to be very careful about how we proceed. One wrong move, and we could make things worse for everyone, including the dragon. That afternoon, Overseer Thiklas returned unexpectedly. He went straight to Silthara's cell and stood watching the dragon for a long time. Silthara saw him and began making urgent sounds that Deho now recognized as pleas for understanding. Thiklas ignored the sounds and made notes on his device. Then he called for a meeting with all senior staff. I have received reports of unusual activity around the Velthari specimen, Thiklas announced. Some humans have been observed spending excessive time near its containment cell. This emotional attachment threatens the discipline process. Commander Kim kept his expression neutral. My people are following standard security protocols, Overseer. Nevertheless, I am implementing new restrictions. No human personnel are permitted within 50 meters of the specimen cell, except during official inspections. Anyone found violating this order will be removed from the station immediately. Dr. Park raised her hand. Overseer, what if we have discovered new information about Velthari behavior that could improve the discipline process? Thiklas turned his insect eyes toward her. Humans have been studying Velthari for less than 200 years. My people have managed them for over 5,000 years. You have nothing to teach us about these creatures. But, sir, if we could demonstrate that the specimen's behavior has meanings we did not understand before— Dr. Park, Thiklas interrupted, are you suggesting that Kethmar science is incorrect? The room went dead silent. Questioning Kethmar scientific authority was close to treason in galactic law. No, sir, Dr. Park said carefully. I am suggesting we may have observed new behavior, patterns that could be useful. The only useful behavior from this specimen would be proper submission. Until that occurs, discipline will continue according to established protocols. Any human who interferes with this process will face serious consequences. After Thiklas left, the staff dispersed quickly. Everyone could feel the tension in the air. Daeho found Dr. Park and Minna in the empty cafeteria an hour later. "We cannot get close to Silthara anymore," Minna said. "The new restrictions make it impossible." "Maybe that is not our biggest problem," Dr. Park said quietly. "I have been thinking about what Thiklas said. 5,000 years of managing Velthari. What if the dragons were intelligent all along and the Kethmar have been deliberately hiding it?" Daeho felt a chill. "You think they know?" "Think about it. An entire species of highly intelligent beings used as biological tools across 17 worlds. If that became public knowledge, it would destroy the Kethmar's authority and probably start a galactic war. So they torture any dragon that shows signs of intelligence to keep them from communicating with other species," Minna said. "Which means Silthara is not just being punished for breaking rules. It is being silenced to protect a massive cover-up." That night, Daeho lay in his bunk staring at the ceiling. Somewhere below him, Silthara was alone and afraid, calling out for family that would never hear. The dragon had trusted them to help, and now they could not even get close enough to explain why they had abandoned it. But Daeho had not given up. If they could not get to Silthara, then they would have to find another way to expose the truth, even if it meant defying the most powerful species in the galaxy. Dr. Park worked through the night in her lab, compiling their research into a formal report. She included audio recordings, translation matrices, and behavioral analysis that proved Silthara was intelligent. When she finished, she had over 200 pages of evidence. Commander Kim reviewed the report the next morning with a grim expression. "This is solid work, Dr. Park, but presenting this to the Kethmar could get us all court-martialed. Sir, we have proof that an entire species has been wrongly classified as animals. Surely that is worth some risk." "To us, yes. To the galactic government, this represents a threat to their entire power structure. They will not thank us for exposing it." Daeho entered the commander's office carrying his personal communicator. "Sir, I may have found another option. I sent a message to my cousin who works in the Human Diplomatic Corps. He says there are growing questions in the Earth government about some of our galactic agreements." "What kind of questions?" Kim asked. "Questions about whether we are supporting policies that violate human ethics. My cousin thinks there are people in high places who would be very interested in our discovery." Dr. Park looked hopeful. "If we could get Earth government support, maybe we could challenge the Kethmar legally. Or maybe we would start a war," Kim said. "Humans are still a minor species in galactic politics. We cannot afford to make enemies of the Kethmar. We also cannot afford to be complicit in genocide," Daeho said quietly. Before Kim could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red and the security system announced an unauthorized entry in the containment level. The three of them ran toward the dragon's cell and found chaos. Silthara's containment door was open, and the dragon was gone. 2 Kethmar guards lay unconscious in the corridor. Security footage showed a figure in maintenance coveralls helping the dragon escape through a service tunnel. "Who would do this?" Dr. Park said. Minna appeared from around the corner, breathing hard. "Someone who could not stand watching a child suffer anymore." Daeho stared at her. "Minna, what did you do?" "I used the translation system to explain to Silthara how to override the lock codes. The dragon is smarter than any of us realized. It figured out the rest on its own." Commander Kim grabbed his communicator. "All units, this is Commander Kim. We have a containment breach in Sector 7. I want that creature found immediately." But even as he gave the orders, Kim's eyes met Daeho's. There was something in that look that suggested the commander was not entirely upset about the escape. Within hours, Kethmar ships began arriving from across the sector. Overseer Thickglass was promoted to fleet commander and given authority over the entire search operation. He transformed the research station into a military command center. The escaped specimen represents a severe threat to galactic security, Nicholas announced to the assembled staff. It carries classified information about biological management protocols. It must be recaptured at any cost. What classified information? Dr. Park asked. It is just an animal according to your previous statements. Nicholas fixed her with his cold insect stare. Dr. Park, you are confined to quarters pending investigation of your possible involvement in this security breach. Minna and Daeho were also placed under arrest. Only Commander Kim remained free to coordinate with the search teams. But Kim found ways to visit them in their locked quarters. The Kethmar are panicking, he told them quietly. They have called in ships from 6 different systems. This is not the response you would expect for one escaped animal. Because they know Silthara is not an animal, Daeho said. They are afraid of what it might tell other species if it reaches them. Where could it go? Dr. Park asked. We are in deep space. The nearest inhabited system is weeks away. Maybe it does not need to reach another system, Minna said. Maybe it just needs to reach other dragons. Kim looked puzzled. There are no other dragons in this sector. Are we sure about that? The Kethmar have been managing dragon populations for thousands of years. They must have transport ships and holding facilities. What if there are dragons closer than we think? 3 days later, their questions were answered in the worst possible way. A massive Kethmar dreadnought arrived in the system carrying Admiral Zekthul, the Supreme Commander of Galactic Biological Management. Behind the dreadnought came a fleet of 20 warships. Admiral Zekthul was older and larger than any Kethmar Daeho had seen before. His shell was scarred from many battles, and his voice carried the authority of absolute power. Commander Kim, Zekthul said as he materialized in the station's communication center via hologram. Your facility has suffered a catastrophic security failure. One of the most dangerous specimens in our custody has escaped and made contact with unauthorized parties. Admiral, I was not aware that Subject 47 had made contact with anyone. Do not play ignorant with me, human. We have intercepted communications between the escaped specimen and a hidden enclave of rogue Velthari. These creatures are planning coordinated resistance against galactic authority. Daeho felt his heart skip. There were other free dragons somewhere in space, and Silthara had found them. Admiral, Kim said carefully, are you saying there are other intelligent Velthari operating independently? I am saying there are dangerous animals that have learned to mimic intelligence to avoid proper management. They represent a threat to galactic stability that must be eliminated. Eliminated, sir. The escaped specimen knows too much about our containment procedures. It and any creatures it has contacted must be destroyed to prevent further security breaches. Dr. Park's voice came from the communication speakers. She had been listening from her quarters. Admiral, you are talking about genocide of an intelligent species. Dr. Park, you are speaking about matters beyond your understanding. Humans have been part of galactic civilization for barely 3 centuries. You lack the experience to comprehend the complexities of biological management. I understand that we are talking about living beings with families and emotions and the right to exist. You understand nothing. Remain silent or face charges of treason against galactic authority. After the communication ended, Commander Kim came to see them again. His face was pale and his hands were shaking. They want us to help hunt down Silthara, he said. Admiral Zekthul says human participation in the search will prove our loyalty to galactic law. And if we refuse, Daeho asked, then we are declared enemies of galactic civilization. Earth loses its membership in the galactic community. Humanity becomes an outlaw species. So we have to choose between our morals and our survival, Dr. Park said. Kim sat down heavily. I have been a soldier for 20 years. I have followed orders I did not like and served causes I did not believe in. But I have never been asked to hunt down an innocent child to prove my loyalty. He looked at each of them in turn. I want you to know that whatever happens next, I am proud to serve with people who have the courage to do what is right. Sir, what are you saying? Daeho asked. I am saying that some things are more important than following orders, even if it costs us everything. In the distance they could hear the sounds of Kethmar ships launching search patrols. The hunt for Silthera had begun, but the dragon was no longer alone. Somewhere in the darkness of space, other members of its species were waiting to help. The question was whether humanity would stand with them or against them when the final confrontation came. The breakthrough came when Mina detected an encrypted signal hidden in the station's communication array. Someone was using their own equipment to send messages to coordinates deep in the asteroid belt surrounding the system. The signal is, using the same musical patterns we documented from Silthera, she explained to the others. I think our dragon friend is talking to someone out there. Commander Kim made a decision that could end his career. Instead of reporting the signal to the Kethmar, he authorized a secret mission to trace its source. He assigned Daeho to pilot a small reconnaissance ship with Mina handling communications. If anyone asks, you are conducting a routine patrol of the outer system, Kim told them. But if you find what I think you will find, then everything changes. The journey to the asteroid belt took 8 hours. As they approached the coordinates, Mina began receiving stronger signals. The musical language of the dragons was coming from multiple sources now, dozens of voices singing together in harmonies that made the humans feel both awed and peaceful. There, Daeho said, pointing to a large asteroid that showed signs of artificial modification. Landing bays had been carved into its surface and lights glowed from windows cut into the rock. That is not natural. As their ship approached the asteroid, a new voice came over the communication system. It spoke in accented but clear human language. Human vessel, you are welcome here. I am Mordain, Elder of the Free Song. Your young friend Silthera has told us much about you. Daeho and Mina exchanged amazed looks. Elder Mordain, this is Corporal Lee Daeho. We are honored to meet you. The honor is mine, Corporal. It has been many centuries since we encountered beings who saw us as people rather than tools. Please dock at Bay 7. We have much to discuss. The asteroid's interior was unlike anything Daeho had ever seen. Vast caverns had been hollowed out and connected by tunnels that sang with acoustic perfection. The walls were covered in crystal, formations that caught and reflected light in patterns that seemed to have meaning. Dragons of all sizes moved through the caverns with graceful purpose. Some were as large as starships, while others were no bigger than Silthera. All of them had the same intelligent golden eyes and crystal scales that threw rainbow light across the walls. Elder Mordain was ancient even by dragon standards. His scales had turned from crystal clear to deep purple with age, and his eyes held the wisdom of centuries. When he spoke, his voice resonated through the caverns like music. Welcome to the last free song in this part of the galaxy, Mordain said. We are all that remains of our people who have not been broken by Kethmar conditioning. Conditioning? Mina asked. The Kethmar discovered our intelligence long ago, but they could not allow it to become known. Intelligent slaves are harder to control than mindless animals, so they developed methods to suppress our mental development and make us docile. Daeho felt sick. They deliberately made you less intelligent. Chemical treatments given to young dragons prevent proper brain development. Isolation from other dragons stops us from learning our language and culture. Physical punishment teaches us to fear independent thought. Over generations, these methods turned most of our people into the mindless creatures the galaxy believes us to be. But you escaped. Some of us. We hide in places like this and try to rescue our people when we can. But the Kethmar are powerful and we are few. Until now, we had little hope of changing anything. Elder Mordain led them deeper into the asteroid, where Silthera waited in a large chamber filled with other young dragons. The moment it saw Daeho, it rushed over and nuzzled against him with obvious joy. Daeho, friend, Silthera said in careful human words. You came. You found us. We came as soon as we could. Are you safe here? Safe, yes. But family still missing. Still slaves to bug people who hurt us. Elder Mordain's voice became sad. Silthera's song was captured during a Kethmar raid 3 years ago. Most were taken to work camps in distant systems. Silthera escaped during transport, but has not seen family since. Work camps, Mina said. What kind of work? Terraforming operations, asteroid mining, deep space construction, Anywhere the Kethmar need being strong enough to work in dangerous conditions without life support. They tell other species that dragons are just biological tools, but we die in those camps just like any other thinking being. Tejo looked around at the hidden colony and felt anger burning in his chest. How many of your people are enslaved? Millions across the galaxy. We estimate that fewer than 10,000 remain free. And the galactic government knows nothing about this. The galactic government prefers not to ask difficult questions about where their biological tools come from. As long as the Kethmar provide the services they promise, most species do not care about the details. For the next several hours, Elder Mordain showed them recordings and documents that proved the scope of the Kethmar deception. Dragons working in radiation-soaked mines without protection. Dragon children separated from their families and subjected to chemical conditioning. Dragons who tried to resist being killed as examples to the others. This is genocide, Minna said with tears in her eyes. Yes, but a hidden genocide that the galaxy chooses to ignore. Until now, we had no way to make the truth known. The Kethmar control all official communication channels and no other species was willing to listen to us. What changed? Tejo asked. You did. When your people recognized Silthera as intelligent and tried to help despite the personal cost, you proved that some beings in this galaxy still have compassion. Young Silthera brought us recordings of your conversations. For the first time in centuries, we heard voices speaking about us as people deserving of dignity and freedom. Elder Mordain turned to face them directly. Corporal Tejo, Specialist Minna, we are offering you a choice that could change the course of galactic history. Will humanity stand with us against this injustice? What are you asking us to do? Help us expose the truth to the rest of the galaxy. Your species has communication networks the Kethmar cannot completely control. Your government has enough independence to challenge Kethmar authority if they choose to do so. Together, we might be able to end 5,000 years of slavery. Tejo thought about Commander Kim back on the station. About Dr. Park under arrest for trying to help. About all the dragons still trapped in work camps across the galaxy. Elder Mordain, if we do this, it means war. The Kethmar will not give up their power peacefully. War may come regardless. Admiral Zekthul has already begun preparing to destroy this colony and everyone in it. At least if we act now, we give our people a chance to fight for their freedom. Minna was working at her portable communication unit. I can send our recordings directly to Earth through quantum relay. The Kethmar cannot intercept or block quantum transmissions. And I can make sure the message reaches people who will act on it, Tejo said, thinking of his cousin in the diplomatic corps. Elder Mordain smiled, an expression that was somehow beautiful on his dragon features. Then let us begin. It is time for the galaxy to learn what humanity means when it speaks of justice. As Minna began transmitting their evidence to Earth, Silthara approached Tejo one more time. Thank you. Friend Tejo, you gave us hope when we had none. Whatever happens next, you showed us that not all species choose to look away from suffering. Tejo put his hand on the young dragon's crystal scales. We are going to get your family back, Silthara. All of your families. I promise you that. The response from Earth came faster than anyone expected. Admiral Yu Sung-ho of the human space fleet arrived in the system 3 days later, with a battle group of 12 ships. His message to Admiral Zekthul was simple and direct. By order of the Earth government, all hostile actions against Velthari dragons will cease immediately. Humanity formally recognizes the Velthari as a sovereign intelligent species and places them under human protection. Admiral Zekthul's reply came within the hour. Admiral Yu, you are interfering in internal galactic affairs. The creatures you call Velthari are classified biological tools under galactic law. Your protection of stolen property constitutes an act of war. Then so be it, Admiral Yu responded. Humanity will not be party to genocide regardless of the consequences. The standoff lasted for 6 tense hours. Kethmar ships surrounded the human fleet while both sides prepared for battle. On the research station, Commander Kim released Dr. Park and the others from confinement and armed them with personal weapons. If shooting starts, we are going to be in the middle of it, Kim told his people. But I want everyone to know that I'm proud of what we have accomplished here. We chose to do what was right instead of what was easy. The breakthrough came when transmissions from the hidden dragon colony reached ships throughout both fleets. Elder Mordain broadcast testimonies from freed dragons telling their stories of enslavement and torture. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. But more importantly, Minna had worked with the dragon elders to establish communication with enslaved dragons on Kethmar ships. For the first time in centuries, dragons across the fleet began to remember who they really were. The conditioning that kept them docile began to break down as they heard the voices of free dragons singing the old songs. Dragons who had been treated as animals for their entire lives suddenly remembered they were people with names and families and rights. The revolution started on Admiral Zekthul's own flagship. Dragons in the engine compartment stopped following orders and began demanding answers. Dragons used for heavy labor in the weapons bays refused to load ammunition. Dragons who had been forced to fight for Kethmar entertainment turned on their handlers. All ships, this is Admiral Zekthul, came the panicked transmission. We are experiencing coordinated uprising among biological assets. Request immediate assistance. But the uprising was spreading faster than the Kethmar could respond. On ship after ship, dragons were remembering their true nature and refusing to serve their captors. Some fought their way to freedom, while others simply stopped, working and demanded to be treated with dignity. Admiral Yu saw his opportunity. Admiral Zekthul, I offer you one chance to surrender. Release all Velthari in your custody and withdraw from this system. In return, humanity will guarantee safe passage for your fleet. Never, Zekthul replied. The galactic order depends on maintaining proper hierarchy. If these creatures are allowed to rebel, it will encourage uprisings across known space. Then you have chosen your fate, Admiral Yu said. The battle was brief but decisive. The Kethmar fleet was already crippled by internal revolts, and the human ships had been given detailed intelligence about Kethmar weaknesses by the freed dragons. Within 2 hours, Admiral Zekthul's flagship was disabled, and half his fleet had surrendered. But the real victory came when dragons from the defeated ships were reunited with their families for the first time in years. Daeho watched from the observation deck of Admiral Yu's flagship as transport ships brought freed dragons to the asteroid colony. Silthara was waiting at the docking bay when a group of older dragons emerged from one of the transports. The young dragon's joyful song echoed through the entire colony as it rushed to embrace what could only be its parents. That makes it all worthwhile, Dr. Park said as she joined Daeho at the window. She had been promoted to chief xenobiologist for the new Human Velthari Cooperation Project. What happens now? Daeho asked. Now we build something better. Earth has already announced the formation of the Human Velthari Alliance. Other species are beginning to ask questions about their own relationships with the Kethmar. Change is coming to the galaxy. Admiral Yu appeared behind them. Corporal Lee, Dr. Park, I wanted to thank you personally for what you have done here. Your courage in recognizing the truth about the Velthari has changed the course of galactic history. We just did what felt right, sir, Daeho said. That is exactly what makes humanity special. In a galaxy full of species that choose convenience over conscience, you chose to see the person behind the monster. Over the following weeks, the scope of the Kethmar deception became clear. Hidden work camps were discovered throughout their territory. Millions of dragons were freed from slavery and reunited with their families. Other intelligent species that had been classified as animals were also discovered and liberated. The galactic government fractured as species after species withdrew from Kethmar authority. Some worlds chose to join the Human Velthari Alliance while others formed their own independent governments. The age of Kethmar dominance was ending. Daeho accepted promotion to lieutenant in command of the new Interspecies Liberation Corps. His first mission was to locate and free remaining dragon work camps in the Outer Rim territories. Silthara volunteered to serve as his guide and translator. Dr. Park established the first interspecies research university on the asteroid colony. Dragons and humans worked together to develop new technologies and share scientific knowledge. The combination of human creativity and dragon wisdom produced innovations that neither species could have achieved alone. Minna became the first human to master telepathic communication with dragons. She served as the primary translator for diplomatic meetings between the Alliance and other galactic powers. Her work helped establish formal recognition for dozens of previously enslaved species. But perhaps the most important change was cultural. The galaxy began to learn that intelligence and dignity were not limited to the species that held power. The question, what makes someone a person, became central to galactic law and philosophy. Commander Kim, now promoted to Admiral, summed it up best during the dedication ceremony for the new Alliance headquarters. We learned that our greatest strength as humans is not our technology or our weapons. It is our ability to see the dignity in all thinking beings and our willingness to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. As the ceremony ended, Daeho found himself standing with Silthara on an observation platform overlooking the bustling colony. Dragons and humans worked together in the caverns below, preparing for the next phase of their alliance. "Do you regret leaving your old life?" Silthara asked. It had learned to speak human languages fluently, and its voice carried the musical quality that all dragons possessed. "No," Daeho said without hesitation. "Before I met you, I thought being a soldier meant following orders and protecting my own people. Now I understand it means protecting anyone who needs protection regardless of what species they belong to. The galaxy is changing because you chose to listen when no one else would," Silthara said. "My people will remember that for all the generations to come." In the distance, new ships were arriving daily, bringing refugees from across the galaxy. Dragons freed from work camps, humans leaving Kethmar territory, representatives from species who wanted to join the Alliance. The asteroid that had once hidden a small group of survivors was becoming the capital of a new galactic civilization. It was a civilization built on the simple idea that intelligence deserved respect and that freedom was the birthright of all thinking beings. It was an idea that had started with one human soldier who chose to listen to a dragon's song of pain and decided to answer with compassion. The galaxy would never be the same.